When it comes to iconic skateboarding video games, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater is at the top of the list. But admittedly, I never actually played a Tony Hawk game up until 1 and 2 Remastered. 1 and 2 were both released before I was born, actually. And when I think about childhood skating games, Skate 3 comes to mind. I grew up playing Skate 3. I played that game quite religiously as a child, and I've always thought that skateboarding is like the coolest thing anybody could ever do. I think I played Skate 3 on the PS3 up until like 2015-16, and truthfully, I still do play it occasionally from time to time. But I've always had a soft spot for skateboarding. I've always thought it was just one of the coolest things a human could ever do. And naturally, with the existence of skateboarding video games, I would eventually come to play these. So, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2 was released back in 2020. I believe it came out in September. And I played this game when it first came out, actually. And I vividly remember that period of time in my life. And having never played a Tony Hawk game before, I know, big deal, right? This was my first exposure to actually playing Tony Hawk. I mean, I had known about the games for years. I've seen a lot of speedruns of it. But I'd never actually played it up until the remasters came out. And I genuinely fell in love with this game. I still think to this day that it is just a phenomenal remaster. This is one of the greatest remasters ever made. I love every second of this game, and although I'm not a big fan of some of the maps, and I think some of the part goals were a little annoying, this game is just so enjoyable, and I love free skate for the most part. I love just kind of going around and just skating and going at your own leisurely pace. Admittedly, as iconic as some of the maps are in this game, like I'm looking at School 2, you know, Warehouse, even Venice Beach, some very iconic maps. I took a particular liking to Marseille. I think Marseille, which is one of the skate parks, like a competition map in France, I think this is genuinely the most beautiful map in the entire game. I love the sunset. I love how the park is designed. I love the color schemes. I think this is the most fun map in the entire game, and it's my favorite, and I always gravitate towards that one. But I'm not a big fan of like Downhill Jam or Mall, you know, the downhill maps. I'm glad the second game doesn't have stuff like that. And also, look at this Geisha board. It's just beautiful. This is absolutely my favorite board in the entire game, and I actually went out of my way to unlock it by completing combo challenges and whatnot. Speaking of which, there are hundreds of challenges in this game for you to complete, so if you're looking to 100% this game, it's going to take you forever to do it. But anyway, this game has a collection of pro skaters, like Lizzie Armano is one of my favorites, Ayori Nishimura, of course, Tony Hawk himself, the Birdman. His son Riley is in this game too, which I think is awesome. Kareem Campbell is really cool. I love his moveset, like the kick flip, back flip, which is a staple of all of my custom skaters. And he even has the Ghetto Bird, which I think is one of the coolest looking moves anybody could ever do. So Kareem Campbell absolutely has two of the coolest special moves, which I promptly put on my custom skater as soon as I could. Such a cool dude, right? But as I mentioned earlier, this game is genuinely one of the most enjoyable games I've ever played in my life. And I do think rating games is pretty cool, but I'm not necessarily like, oh, this game's a 7 out of 10, it's mediocre, because that's who cares. This game, in my opinion, genuinely is a 10 out of 10, simply because of how much I enjoyed it. It's just a very fun game, and I understand why that these games, or rather, why these games were so prevalent back in the day, why people played them and enjoyed them so much. These are just fun games. And once I completed all the part goals, I got 100% on both Tony Hawk 1 and 2. Free skate is where I find most of my enjoyment. I love the smaller parks, as I mentioned earlier. Marseille, Skate Street, I think Burnside is really cool too. I am definitely much more of a skate park kind of dude. Now the bigger levels like downtown Minneapolis or streets in San Francisco, those are cool too. New York is great as well. Philadelphia is wonderful. But I don't really like the big open maps. I feel like sometimes they're a little spaced out too far. Like these do replicate street skating. I'm not a big fan of Mall or Downhill Jam. I mean, they're cool maps. There's no bad maps at all. There are no bad maps whatsoever. It's just I prefer the smaller, more compact, what I call skate parks, just because I think that they are the most fun to play. I guess I'm a bit of a fan of like controlled chaos. It's very fast, it's very quick. You're going in and out of the bowls and the pipes, or the half pipes, I should say. I think it's great fun. And Burnside, especially, is just a beautiful map. I love seeing the rain and I love seeing the cars passing off in the distance. It's just a beautiful looking map. I love the color scheme. I think seeing the graffiti. It's just a beautiful map to look at. And I love, as I mentioned earlier, seeing the rain. It's just a beautiful looking map. And I think this one's great fun too. I think Burnside's my second favorite behind Marseille. I mean, look at that graffiti, right? And look at this eye, kind of like the Neversoft logo, I guess. Really cool, right? But as I said, though, I love how fast-paced they are. I love how everything's just kind of small and compact. It's really, really fun. And Skate Heaven is interesting, too, because this is kind of like an amalgamation of some of the previous games maps. And you get a really beautiful-looking skybox, too. It's really easy to fall off on this map, so just be mindful of that. Hangar is another great map as well. This was the first map in Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2. It's kind of like Warehouse, but expanded. But as I mentioned, I never actually played a Tony Hawk game up until 1 and 2 Remastered. And I went into this game not as a veteran, but as a complete newbie. And I must say, this game is very, very fun. Look at, was it Skate Street? This is a really great map, too. Here's School 2. This one's great. It's amazing how much better the second game's maps were compared to the first. I mean, don't get me wrong. As I mentioned earlier, there are no bad maps whatsoever. But the second game, the maps were way more fun. Oh, here's Jamie Thomas, Alabama native. What do you know? Here's Marseille, just my favorite map in the entire game. It's really beautiful, very fun, too. But also another great thing about Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, one thing people always talk about all the time, the music. The music in this game is phenomenal. I also discovered a lot of great bands through this game, as I'm sure many other people have. It's a very common shared experience that people have with Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. Destroy Boys are awesome. Screaming Females are awesome. Less Than Jake, they're awesome. They did have a song, All My Friends Are Metalheads. I believe it was back in Tony Hawk 3. But I discovered a lot of great music in this game. Also, Afraid of Heights by Billy Talent legitimately is one of the most beautiful songs ever made. And as I'm a huge fan of music, so this game, one of the biggest reasons why I was so excited for it was because of all the new music I could potentially discover. And this game absolutely has it in abundance, you know? And one of the most cherished memories that I have of this game is the first time I ever played on Marseille. It was one of the competition maps, so you have to go through heats, and you have to try to get the highest score you can within the 1 minute time limit, and then they average out your scores. Well, the judges give you anywhere between 0 to 99, and the two highest scores win. Like, they average it out and everything. Here's Downhill Jam, which is not a favorite of mine. Tony Hawk's favorite map is Downhill Jam. I don't really like this map. I think it's cool. I think the concept is interesting, but I'd rather play another map, please. But when it comes to the music, though, the first time I ever played the map Marseille, the song Afraid of Heights by Billy Talent began playing. And I had that feeling of, man, this game is cool. Because I remember I saw the sunset on that map, and I was kind of, you know, scanning it for the first time, getting a feel for it. And then the song begins playing, and I just thought, man, this is just cool. Same thing happened when I was on Burnside. The song Bomb Drop by Less Than Jake began playing. And I just remember thinking, this game is just so cool. And, you know, I enjoyed it so much. And even playing it again this year in anticipation for 3 and 4, I still love it just as much now as I did when it first came out. And I'm glad I went back and replayed it because, you know, this is definitely a game that I will revisit from time to time and just go and skate around for a while. And that really wonderful soundtrack on top of it is just wonderful too. And I love that this game has that good amount of replayability because there's always challenges you can complete. I love the idea of completing a bunch of challenges and unlocking new decks for the skaters. And I love unlocking like new decks and making sure the wheels look nice and the trucks look nice. Like, look at that beautiful flip board. I think that one looks cool. That's one of Nishimura's boards. I think that one looks cool. As I said, I love this stuff, customizing it, really making it tailor-made for you. I mean, it's just wonderful. And of course, when I see a board that looks really cool like that one, I'm like, oh man, I gotta get that one. And then I'll go to challenges and see another board that I think looks great, and I'm like, oh man, that one's cool. That's one of Lizzie's boards. That one looks awesome too. But I remember I'll see a board or like grip tape that I think looks cool, and I'll be like, man, I gotta level up 5 more times to get that one. And it's just, as I said, I love the customization. Like, look at the purple camouflage. Isn't that just cool? And there's the gradient right there. It just looks awesome, right? And I remember definitely switching up my board from time to time, just trying to keep it fresh, trying to make sure it looked nice and everything. And look at all the purple haze wheels. Shout outs to Jimi Hendrix, by the way. But I just thought that looked fantastic too. But when I was looking through the custom skater challenges, I found another board that I loved even more, and that was the aforementioned Geisha board. I think, to be honest, that's my favorite deck design in the entire game. I think that one just looks so sweet. And I love the all purple scheme. Like, I just love the colors on it. But half of the enjoyment of this game was unlocking new decks, like going through Kareem's boards and seeing which ones you can get for your custom skaters. Of course, you unlock them not only for the pro skaters, but for the custom skaters as well. And of course, you want your skater to look very nice. You want to make sure that they have the nicest looking shoes, if you don't mind Vans. Of course, have the checkerboard Vans, you know how it is. And of course, you got some socks to go with those shoes, and you need to get some pants too. But as I said, I love customizing not only the board itself, but also the skater and making sure that they have some really cool clothes on. This game doesn't have many options in terms of pants, but I guess it's kind of like real life too. Pants are just kind of pants, you know? But there's a lot of custom shirts and jackets you can go through, or rather, jackets for your custom skater. And of course, I love bright, colorful things. The brighter the colors, the more vibrant, the more I'm attracted to it. So naturally, let me get some all green socks, please, because, I mean, you won't be able to see them because my pants cover them up, but they are there anyway. And of course, look at all these different board designs and how cool that they can look. I mean, look at that almost deck. That one's beautiful. That one's nice too. But as I said, I love this stuff. I love trying to make the coolest looking stuff that I can possibly find. And of course, I created a skater named Nameless, which is an oxymoron, I think. But he's from the Void. I was originally going to put his mother's basement, but I thought the Void was more, you know, to the point. So there's Nameless. And then we go back to Palm Lizzie, who's my main skater. As I mentioned earlier, I just kind of made her name up. But who knows, she might hit the rails in 3 and 4 as well. So this game does have hundreds of challenges you can complete. Each pro skater has their own set of challenges, but most of the challenges lie with your custom skater, I think. There's also skate park specific challenges you can do as well. But I always loved looking at the custom skater challenges and thinking, man, that one particular deck is really cool, like the Geisha one. And you have to get, I believe, a 30 or 40,000 point combo with, I believe, a grab, and it has to be the over the pool gap, which I managed to get there. And then, of course, you get to go to the main menu, go to the challenges, and then see all the challenges that you've completed, and you get to claim them all one by one and see which rewards you've gotten. I just think that this is a really cool system. Of course, I don't care much for all the challenges, but if there's a deck that's really cool that I think is manageable, absolutely I'll try to unlock it. But overall, I really, really enjoyed Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2. And considering that I had never really played these games before and I was going in relatively new, and now that I'm replaying these games this year, I still love it just as much as I did. I legitimately think that this game is a 10 out of 10. I really do. This is a perfect remaster, I would say. And it's just so much fun. Like, it's a really enjoyable game. And I'm not great at it, and I don't really care to be great. Like, there are people that can get really crazy, insane combos. And, of course, there are people who speedrun this game, and I think that's genuinely impressive. But it's just fun to just, you know, hit the rails and just skate around and do whatever you want. All I did in this game was 100% the two main games, and that was about it. And then I got a lot of stat points with my custom skaters, but genuinely, this game was a great time, and I'm really, really, really looking forward to 3 and 4.